Despite what the title and thumbnail may tell you, I actually do think this is a good movie, or at least a solid and enjoyable one that I do recommend you seeing. But my only issue is that, I'd heard so many good things about the comics before the movie. I hadn't actually read the comics until now. After a movie release, I was like, you know what? Why not read the comics, see what everyone loved, and I get it. They're an incredible piece of comics, and the artwork is just beautiful. I'm going to talk about it later, but oh my god, such a good-looking film, or book, And, yeah, this movie kind of does fall flat on almost everything that the comic does. So, yeah, overall, I think Supergirl is one of a core example for how to not adapt something. I don't know, but overall, I do want to get something off my chest, and how I don't want to be one of those people who are like, oh yeah, this doesn't perfectly adapt my comic book, and it's not 100% right, so that means it's a terrible thing. No, that's stupid. I mean, if you want to go by that logic, then Spider-Man No Way Home should have been a one-for-one adaptation of, what's it called? Oh, yeah, One More Day. The notorious worst Spider-Man run ever. Yeah, no. Just because you're not comic accurate doesn't mean you're not good. I'm just saying that I do think this is a good film overall, but it just hails in comparison to the comics. And I just want to bring up what the comics did so well and why it's so beloved. I mean, come on. The comics were renowned. They're called the best of the 2020, or one of the best of the 2020s, the definitive Supergirl run, an amazing comic book series, compared to the movie that people are like, yeah, it's pretty mid. So yeah, this video will be my somewhat review for Supergirl, but mainly just what did it change from the comics, how did it help and hurt the film, and overall, all that jazz. Okay, so this first bit, I'm just going to talk about a little bit of my review for Supergirl, because I don't want to just compare it to a comic and say how much worse it is for the entire time, but yeah. So first off, Millie Alcock as Supergirl is probably the best Supergirl we've ever had. Now, I have not seen My Adventure with Superman, not seen that. Maybe I will, I don't know, but I have heard that Supergirl is the best one. Now, I would say the CW Melissa Benoist, I think, is probably the best casting of Supergirl. I think she was incredible with her casting. Only problem was Supergirl was not well written. And she really only got time to shine when she was in other people's shows. So that is a reason why I don't think Melissa Benoist quite beats out Millie Alcock in who's the better Supergirl. So yeah, I think Millie Alcock is best Supergirl to date. I think it is a pretty pitch-perfect adaptation of the character. Especially the Woman of Tomorrow version, I would say, yeah, it's a pretty perfect adaptation. With the actress and, all that. The writing's slightly worse and the themes are less deep and all that, but still. Lobo, I think, is just a positive from the comics. I mean, what was it? Oh, yeah. Shoot, what's her name? Ruthie has been looking for a hunter to hunt down Krem with her. And what's Lobo? A hunter. Now, he doesn't really join her helping Krem. He's just on his own side mission. But whenever he was on screen, it was just much fun. It was a lot funner. It was just a lot better. And he was a great character. Jason Momoa, I'm pretty sure I bet a lot of people have heard this. Jason Momoa originally, before he was cast as Aquaman, came into DC saying, I want to play Lobo. Because, look at Jason Momoa. Look at Lobo. You can see why. Anyways, so yeah. Also, here's one thing that I do think is worse in the comics, but I think it's great in the film. I like the visuals. I actually think it's really good. I think the CGI is pretty great. I think it's shot well. I think overall it's a good looking film, other than that final battle. That final battle was kind of rough. But I'll talk about Supergirl, the comic, because it's not even close on which one's better. But in a bubble, this film has some pretty great visuals. Like, honestly, if I compare it to most other comic book films, I would say it's above average. But you're comparing it to arguably the best looking comic DC has ever made. So, yeah. I'm not gonna give any of my negatives because I'm gonna give that when I'm saying how much worse it was compared to the comics. But overall, I think it's an enjoyable film that I quite like. I think it's like a 7.2 out of 10. I think it's a good movie. Kinda. It's a solid movie, It's a good one. Anyways, now on to the things that are different. So first off, you may not like this one. I'm going to start with some changes I think are good. First off is Ruthie in the comics is very much so the protagonist. We follow Ruthie throughout the book, throughout it. It's Ruthie's adventures with Supergirl. Ruthie is the one who wants to kill Krem, and Supergirl is helping her with that, Sure, she makes the excuse of, oh, my dog's gonna die. But, that is a change. In the comics, it's her dog, nothing's actually wrong with Crypto. She just said that so Ruthie would come with her. Versus the movie, something is absolutely wrong with Crypto. Now, I think it helps for the comics. I think Crypto not being sick helps for the comics, especially for the time span of the comics. It makes a lot more sense that it's less dire because, Crypto's not actually sick. While in the movie, they want to make it more dire, so Crypto's actually sick. I think both changes are equally as good for the two stories. But anyways, back to Ruthie. I think Ruthie is definitely worse in this film. I'm not mad that she's not the protagonist. I wouldn't have wanted her to be the protagonist. This is the first Supergirl film, I believe. I could be wrong. But this is the first Supergirl film. So why would I want Ruthie, some random character no one knows, other than if you've read the comic. But, no one knows her outside of if you've read that comic. So why would she be the protagonist? That would be a bad idea. I'm glad they made Kara the protagonist. But, it's definitely a change. Also, I'm not saying that's a diss towards the comics. I'm saying it works better for the film. But also, Ruthie's dialogue does make up the best parts of the story, I would say. And it's, at least, 60-70% of the comics dialogue. She narrates a lot of it because it's her writing a book. But anyways, so Ruthie, maybe she definitely could have had more. Her conversation with Krem in issue 7 would have definitely been wanted. And her being, actually, maybe not. But I think they could have handled the backstory a bit different, things like that. But I'm going to get to it. Anyways, I already said Lobo, I think it's a positive change for the film. And then we're starting to lose it. So, first off, I'll just talk about the visuals. The comic visual is gorgeous. It's so gorgeous. I'm going to show, hopefully, a frame of it. It looks so good. I just have no problems with it. And compared to the movie, the movie's a bit dull. It's I gave this example for something else with Invincible, where, I was watching a video, and it was why Invincible's animation is, very still and stilted. And then I was like, you know what? That's making an Al Ewing comic dull. That's basically what they did here. They made one of the most gorgeous comic books ever a lot less vibrant. I think the colors and all that would have been a welcome change. I get the style that they're going for, and it was good on that. But, yeah. Oh, actually, one thing that is a bit of a criticism towards the film, but I can't really bring it up when comparing it to the comics. Oh my god, the needle drops in this film suck. Oh my god, those needle drops are terrible. Anyways, so another thing that's pretty different from the comics is that in the comics, it's a lot more episodic. Is episodic the right term? I don't think it is. But it's a lot more adventure-y. And here's another reason why in the comics I can excuse Krem not being a good villain, while in the movie I can't. Is that in the comics, it's really just more about the bond growing between Supergirl and Ruthie, other than Krem. Like, in the movie, every single thing happens in the film is that both of these characters are searching for Krem and trying to kill him as soon as possible. Well, Ruthie's trying to kill him. Supergirl is just wanting her antidote. But still, they're trying to get at him as soon as possible. So they don't really have these adventures that they have in the comics. You know, they don't really have these adventures on these really cool worlds where they go to and they meet people and they live their lives. You know, it helps. It helps develop these characters, and I love it for that. Now, in the film, it's kind of just, let's go get Krem, and they don't really have time to have their adventures, because, like, I don't want to say in the comics they're fetch quests, but they kind of are. They're like one of the worlds they go to is, Supergirl, Krem was in prison, and they want to figure out, and then they get into this whole thing with the blues and the purples, where you find out that the blues are, like, the rich and the wealthy, while the purples are the poor, and the ones who are not very fortunate. I was trying to say something else, and I forgot it, but yeah. But the purples are the ones not doing so well. And basically, a bunch of blues release Krem. Actually, no. The brigade? What are they called? The brigade? Whatever he's with, I forgot the name of it because they're not that important. Actually, they are important, they're just not that good villains. But, like, and then they go and, as Ruthie says, they, like, I forget what she's like. Oh, yeah, she's like, these are people who go and commit genocides with a smile. You know, which I will say helps with Krem. I feel like Krem is even better in the comics. Like, he's an okay villain. He's solid. Like, I'll show Zion right now. He's not that, like, his design's okay. The movie somehow makes it even worse. But Krem's he's a fine villain in the comics. He's worse in the movie. Because we're removing some good scenes with her. Like, where Kreb of the Yellow Hills is explaining who he is, what he does. And then he's like, to Ruthie's, one of the lines I remember is like, he's like, oh yeah, you expected me to be like, to beg for forgiveness. No, I know who I am. I'm not gonna change. Yeah, my goat. Also, I really like the ending more in the comics than the film. I'm gonna get to that in a second. But anyways, yeah, also, like, seeing Krem commit actual atrocities helps you see more about, like, what he wants. What do you do? You know? It helps you, like, feel like, oh, this guy sucks. You know, more than the film. Also, the film kind of just makes him this, like, dude looking for girls to repopulate his species. I'm like, or maybe not him. But, like, yeah, that's kind of like what they added, and that's not in the comics at all. I'm like, I mean, it's an okay addition. It doesn't help, doesn't change anything. Really, I just don't know. And yeah, honestly, I feel like a lot of the problems of this film is that they pull a lot of things from the comics. They're very similar. Like, they pull a bunch of things from the comics that are very similar, if not exact. But they change the context. For example, yeah, there's something that Kara needs to get her powers back. Yeah, there's something where Kara needs to get her powers back because of a big threat. In the film, it's space pirates. Well, yeah, sorry, but in the film, it's space pirates, while in the comics, it's a giant dragon that eats galaxies, you know? A lot cooler. Like, also in the film, Kreb is in this planet with a green sun. Why is the green sun related to kryptonite? Oh, we all know it's green. Kryptonite's green. Same thing. While in the comics, they explain things cheaper from other comics where they're like, oh, this was a thing meant to kill my cousin, where they turned the sun with kryptonite, made it green. But it also has a different context and different things happen, you know? Even the ending, you know? Like Kara in the movie just kills Kreb, which, I mean, I don't hate it. It's fine for the film, but the comics just do it a lot better. She actually helps Ruthie. Have I been saying Ruby? I meant Ruthie. If I have been saying Ruby, I meant Ruthie. Anyways, she helped Ruthie learn her lesson and be like, yeah, so many people have already been killed, we don't need to kill another. And then basically comic ends with Kreb coming from the Phantom Zone, being there for hundreds of years, And then he's like begging Ruthie for forgiveness of like, I'm so sorry for what I done. She's an old woman by now, and she's like, I don't care, and then kills him. I think that's a much better ending than what we got in the film of just Supergirl had been preaching, don't kill Kreb, it won't help you, revenge is not good. And be like, okay, go away, I'm gonna kill him now. Like, I feel like it's just iffy about that. I feel like the movie, oh my god, I feel like the comics did a lot better. To be fair, they couldn't, like, age up Supergirl by 200 years. They couldn't say, oh yeah, this took place 200 years ago. But yeah. Also, another thing that I just found is that this film is a lot emotionally, like, resonant. There's a lot less emotion in this film compared to the comics. I mean, it's a bit basic of don't have revenge, and Supergirl has no home. And I feel like, yeah, sure, we do feel that more in, like, they're both the same thing. Ruthie can't kill. That car had basically been trying to show Ruthie this whole time that she can't kill people, because not just because it's not the right thing to do, but because it'll taint her soul, and it will basically, yeah. Oh my god, I just read this. Anyways, that basically her killing people won't help, you know. And Ruthie, also, by the way, I like Ruthie a lot more in the comics. Like, she's fine in the film. I think she's a solid character, but she's so much better in the comics, in my opinion. I like her, like, sort of, I like some of the humorous moments she has of her being, like, a fish out of water-esque character. And her seriousness, I really like that a lot more. And I think she's a lot more, like, I don't want to say snarky, but better. I like her more in the comics is what I'm trying to say. Anyways, so yeah. Also, like, Supergirl, the whole point of, like, we get to see the effects of her losing her home. Like, the backstory, the flashbacks are cut short by a bit and replaced with some Superman flashbacks, which I'm fine with. They basically just adapted the comic book flashbacks one for one. In a worse way, I will say, but, I mean, the flashbacks themselves are good. I actually really do like the flashbacks in this film. But, this is better in the comics, and it has more emotional resonance with what happens, you know? And I just like it more. So, yeah, that's kind of just another thing. It's just, you take a very deep and, like, resounding, like, a very resonant comic that just, like, is very good, very, very deep and emotional. And then you kind of just make it a generic, like, Phase 1 MCU film. I will say, like, I'd say the movie is better than Incredible Hulk by a long mile. That movie sucks. Iron Man 2, that's also not a good movie. A bit better than Thor. Like, Thor, I'd give, like, a 6.7, 6.8 out of 10. Supergirl, I'd give about 7.2, like I said before. And I think it's worse than Captain America, First Avenger. Like, so overall, anyone being like, oh, this is the death of the DCU, James Gunn's cooked. You kind of forgot that the MCU didn't really have another, like, oh my god, wow, that was a great movie till Avengers. Like, there was a 4-year, and by the way, there's a 4-year gap between Iron Man and Avengers. For those 4 years, there wasn't really any great movies. I mean, Captain America, First Avenger is a good movie. Nothing great. While Iron Man and Avengers, I think, are two pretty fantastic comic book films. Which is, like, honestly, I don't know if it's a hot take. I think Phase 1 of the MCU is a bottom 2 phase. I think the only phase worse than it is Phase 4. And honestly, maybe the only reason for why it's ahead of Phase 4 is because it has a lot better interconnectivity. But, like, gotta be honest, quick Phase 1 rant. Iron Man 1. Top 10 MCU films? Barely. It's my number 10 spot. But, like, it's an incredible start to a cinematic universe. Any cinematic universe. It's very good. Incredible Hulk's awful. I'm not gonna lie. Incredible Hulk is the bottom 5 MCU films. Maybe even bottom 7 MCU projects. Generally, it's awful. I'm sorry. I think Incredible Hulk is awful. Like, I would rather watch Thor: Love and Thunder and maybe even, like, Eternals over that movie. Like, Incredible Hulk's awful. I'm not gonna, like, it's one good fight scene. Everyone's like, oh, it's amazing. No, it's not. It sucks. Iron Man 2 is half really bad, then half great. So overall, it's like an film. It's like a 5. No, it's like a 6. It's like the most 6 out of 10 film. Actually, no. Yeah, it's like a 5.5. which I think is a bad movie. It's not a good movie. Then we have, like, Thor 1. It's a solid movie. Nothing amazing. And, like, say, Captain America First Avenger is good. Then The Avengers wraps it all together with another amazing movie. So that is why people like it. But, like, overall, the MCU wasn't as solid. And neither did DCU. And plus, Clayface looked awesome. So hopefully, DCU gets to live even after having only one bad movie. And bad in quotations. It's a solid film. Very fun and enjoyable. Overall, I do like the film, but my idea is just read the comics. Just read the comics. Like I said, it took me a day. Took me an afternoon. I read it by started reading it at actually I didn't. Yeah, you can easily read this in one day if you have any time. I don't know, maybe an hour 30 minutes at most it'd take you to read this. So just read it. Honestly, it's a lot better. It's a gorgeous comic. And it has an incredible story. So yeah. Bye. Actually, yeah, if you think that Supergirl is disappointing, comment down below. If you think it's not disappointing, comment down below and explain. Anyways, bye.